I'm yet to see anybody that's built a really thriving business that hasn't had some elements of hard work. That is not the only ingredient. And so if you're working your tail end off and you're not seeing some results, then it's possible that you're working in the wrong area. And I've wanted to stand upon this pillar of, look how hard I'm working, look at me go, look how hard I'm digging with this teaspoon. And it's like, your self-worth does not come from how hard you're working. Yeah. So you have a little bit more self-love and realize that, let's use the tools that are available.
All right, chiropractors and chiropractic students, welcome to the Family Practice Podcast. You know, the one you've been waiting way too long for, because this podcast will actually stay focused on chiropractic. Not only what it takes to get world-class clinical results for kids and families in your community, but also what it takes to build a legendary, incredible family practice that takes care of your family way beyond your dreams. I'm Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be joined by Dr. Matt Hill, Dr. Ellie Wright, Jackie Jacobowitz, and incredible guests, chiros, associates, CAs, all these folks making massive impact around the world. We're going to cover everything: pediatric, perinatal, family practice. This is the podcast you've been waiting for, because moms and dads and families have always needed us. Now they're finally ready for us. I hope you're ready for the Family Practice Podcast. Let's go. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Family Practice Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, and today we're actually going to flip the script, and I'm going to turn over host control to a much more experienced podcast veteran, Dr. Angus Pyke, who is also an absolutely experienced veteran. Don't worry, Angus, I'm not saying that you're old here. You're young, incredible, brilliant, ridiculously fit friend of mine from many oceans over. Maybe I don't know what many is. There's only so many oceans, but over in Australia is where Dr. Angus and his crew come from. So our second Australian interview here in a short amount of time. But we're flipping the script because this is actually me getting interviewed on Dr. Angus's podcast called Marketing Your Practice Podcast. Now, if you've never downloaded that one and listened to that one, become a regular like me. He has well over 300 episodes. Actually, I think I'm way undershooting that number, and has had well over 150,000 downloads. I've listened to literally every single episode, quite a few of them a couple times over, and I listen to them truly with my notebook out, actually either old school, like the notes in the back of my passion planner and a pen, or at very minimum, I've got my notes app up. So that's actually one I don't really listen to necessarily when I'm out working out or not able to take notes, because as you're about to see when we go through this, the way Dr. Angus loves to teach and always does teach on his podcast is exactly the way we do things with ours and with PX, which is very strategic, step-by-step, actionable, implementable, tactical. I love Angus when it comes to all things practice growth, but especially his mindset around marketing, and then his systems and his strategies around marketing. And that's what we talk about on this one. And that's what I want to really kind of open up before I give you the last bullet points about Angus's and go through his bio. I want you to open up your mindset and your perspective around how much easier marketing your practice, specifically a pediatric, perinatal, family, nervous system focused practice. It has never been easier, and it's not even close to market and explode that kind of practice in today's world, no matter your country, no matter how long you've been at it. That is just true. Now, just because I'm saying that it's easier today than it ever has been, doesn't mean I'm also saying that it's easy. Marketing, branding, and really consistently, relentlessly, and successfully driving new patients in the door will never be easy, which is why Angus really kind of opens the hood to me, if you will, and really just has me share how little is up to just me with our marketing. I've really built an entire team and system in this thing called PX Plus, which my practice was the first client of our done for you, done with you, organic social media and digital marketing machine. And I needed to build that machine, not just for our PX peeps, but I needed to build that machine for myself so that I could continue to focus on patient care, because I actually love not only seeing patients more than anything else, I really love taking on the toughest of patients. So I needed to free myself up from marketing. Second, I knew that I wanted to scale our marketing. So what I want you to know is you're going to learn on this episode how to really scale your impact by getting the message and getting your marketing marketing out through systems and team. I don't think it's a really complicated math algorithm as to how to scale marketing, but it's not just systems. It's not just tech. It's not just AI. It's not just freaking Hootsuite. In fact, the more you leverage some of those kind of posting services, the more your reach and engagement goes down. Humans, team members are really the ones that are going to hold all the power to free you up from being buried by marketing and capture the massive opportunity that is there today. Because I want to continue during this opening and we get into it even more, much more strategically during the episode itself, to tell you that those two things are happening at once. Yes, I get it. You're probably feeling completely overwhelmed and entirely buried by marketing, and you don't really know what you're doing with Facebook and Instagram and carousels and Canva and building funnels and landing pages and follow-up sequences and conversions and vouchers and offers. I get it. I don't know how to do much of that either. I just know how to be the front man doing some of the videos and being the face of it. And then my team and systems and PX Plus, which Angus helps us with, unleash everything. Okay. So that's the first thing I want you to know. Second, which is really within the first thing, you've got to, I mean it. I don't want to be that guy who's like, you got to do this, but you got to do this. The opportunity for impact. They're literally ditching the pediatrician and big pharma, and distrust within the medical system is everywhere. They cannot wait to learn more about neurologically focused chiropractic. Not only are we trending as a drug-free, natural, root cause, holistic profession, like we own that space, but we also own the nervous system. And so right now, saunas and cold plunges and Garmins and Oura rings and Whoops are blowing up. Literally, we're talking like billion-dollar market caps for companies like Oura Ring and Whoop and freaking Sunlight and Sauna. And they are literally talking our language, nervous system. So our team leverages systems. We leverage AI for sure, but that's because we're so capturing the opportunity that is there today to make a massive impact and to blow up our practices. And so as Dr. Angus's bio here that I have on my notes really reads out, man, can I relate to this story? I'm just a little bit less than him in terms of chiropractic experience. He's got over 25 years in it. What I love about Angus is he's absolutely heart-centered. He may drop a few swear words on this one because, as he says, these Australians are coming from, inmate status or something he kind of always shares and jokes about. But the truth is, this man's always been cutting edge. And same as I did, he started building and marketing his family practice, and he's got a love for it, before the internet. So there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't Instagram. We couldn't just make videos and launch podcasts. And we literally, I was going to say as easy, we couldn't. We marketed our practice the old school way, networking, community connections, maybe some print, traditional media, radio, that sort of stuff. And then email, and then websites, and then social media came around. So Angus, and I remember this distinctly because I've been talking with him, working with him, learning from him, strategizing and collaborating with him on this stuff literally since I've been in practice, because right around 2008 is where this stuff really took off for everybody and became available, and where it really took off for Angus. And what it was for him is what it was for me. And I want this episode and what we're going to teach you to do, I want this to be this for you too. I want it to be the answer to avoiding burnout. See, you were made to be a pediatric, perinatal, and family chiropractor. You become absolutely energized by taking care of patients and then talking about chiropractic. And that is it. I tell our crew all the time, those are the only two jobs that a chiropractor should have within their practice: talking about chiropractic and delivering chiropractic, okay? And so when we learn how to scale through digital, social media, teams, systems, AI, you can take your heart, you can take your soul, you can take your mission and your vision, and you can literally, actually, get it to go viral and go all around the world. But most importantly, you can absolutely become 5 mile famous. And we may stretch that out as a pediatric specialist. People drive a good distance to us, and we'll continue to do so because the value is there. So maybe 50 mile famous, 100 mile famous. That's an Angus statement that we just open up the bandwidth on a little bit. We talk about that here on this one too. But you get to do it in a heart-centered way, not in a salesy $19 Facebook free of adjustment, free x-rays, free massage, free, discounted shockwave therapy for your peripheral neuropathy. Like, most of us kind of get this disdain and loathing for social media marketing because we see all the crap that's on social media. We see a bunch of stuff that non-principled, family-focused chiropractors do, but we can use the same tool, but we can use it for our purpose and for our vision and our mission. And I've never seen somebody master not only how to use this stuff, but master how to teach every single chiropractor. You do not need a frickin' marketing, MBA or PhD. You actually don't even need to love marketing as much as maybe somebody like Angus and I do to learn how to do so efficiently, so much more easily, and so much more effectively. So there you go. Let's call it the 3 E's of today's episode. You're going to learn how to do it easier than ever. You're going to learn how to do it more efficiently than ever, save you a ton of time, get your freedom back so you can spend more time with patients, spend more time with your family, but yet still see your new patients go up, and then be more effective with it as well. These are proven strategies, and really what we do, what Angus does with this interview, and I didn't know he was going to do this, but he definitely kind of just comes out guns a-slinging with me. He really deconstructs me and the system and the team and everything that we've built, and gets the answers pulled out of me as to how we really did scale this marketing machine that is now taking the message of pediatric chiropractic worldwide, not just from our practice, but from PX Plus and PX Docs and the Experience Miracles podcast. I've got the same amount of hours and that available each week and each month and each year that you guys do. So he really unpacks along with me how we have scaled that marketing machine so that I can still do the things that I love, which is serve patients, lead my team, and then be with my kids and my farm and my wife and my family all of the time as well. I want that so badly for you. The opportunity is so clearly right there to be able to blow up your family practice in this way. It's truly never been easier. And we've got the proven strategies we're about to teach you as to how to do that. This is a pen and paper one. Pull them out, or at least get your Notability, get your iPad, get your iPhone notes out. If you're using an Android, whatever. I don't know how you're going to really do anything super successful in life with your choices like that, but good luck to you anyways. All right? Okay, let's dig in. Angus, man, let it rip.
How are you, my dear, dear friend?
Good morning. Good afternoon. Oh, shoot. I should know it. I'm fantastic, brother, man. I'm talking with you. How can I be anything other than stellar?
It has been a little while. We've both been doing busy, you in particular. For sure. I'm constantly amazed, dude. Like the output that you have, you're the very definition of the difference between being efficient and effective. The output is just phenomenal. And I love your vision and all those things. What's changing in chiropractic? What things are going to continue to work that worked last year and will perhaps work next year and the year after that too. But we're both of the thought that there is a massive tidal wave coming, and that those chiropractors that jump on board with this too are going to be able to ride that to a practice that has, first of all, tremendous impact, like changing lives in a way that, we perhaps maybe forgot it was possible from there too. And then with that will come an amazing income as well. So we're going to solve the income problem with regards to all of that too. And this also needs to come underneath the umbrella of being really enjoyable too. Because I've had practices that if there's not impact, income, and enjoyment, that's a stool that doesn't balance itself there too. So
the fulfillment, this path brings impact, income, and then my same word, just the way I love to see it, is just the fulfillment and the joy, which is honestly where my energy comes from, which is where my productivity comes from. Like if that cycle, right? If you kind of see that as a flywheel, if that didn't spit out, so much fulfillment and impact and joy, heck no, I wouldn't have, the ability to maintain the energy to plug right back into the front end of it, right? For productivity. So it's a magical practice model for sure. That'll be the net thesis of our State of the Union. Like, holy heck, this model exists, and it's probably always existed, but the model matches so mother freaking perfectly with the marketplace and this massive title shift that you're just like, wow.
Yeah, I think, absolutely this practice has existed, and you've had it long before this last 12, 24 months there too. But, I think the opportunity there is easier now than ever. And I want to touch on those because there is a bit of a culture at the moment that is a hustle and grind culture. And God bless those chiropractors that are out there that are just saying, if I just work harder, I can make it happen. And I don't want to pretend for one. I'm yet to see anybody that's built a really thriving business that hasn't had some elements of hard work. But I also want to say here, that is not the only ingredient. And so if you're working your tail end off and you're not seeing some results, then it's possible that you're working in the wrong area. And the other thing that's difficult, I know this is difficult for me, is that lots of times in my life, I've chosen to metaphorically dig a hole with a teaspoon as opposed to using a backhoe digger. There are backhoe diggers available nowadays, and I wanted to stand upon this pillar of, look how hard I'm working, look at me go, look how hard I'm digging with this teaspoon. And it's like, self-worth does not come from how hard you're working. Yeah. So a little bit more self-love and realize that, let's use the tools that are available to us.
It's interesting you kick it off there, buddy, because that's been top of mind for me and it's been in my heart. And I'm like, how do I find a way to like share this more with the profession and people, whether they ever, want to have a family practice and thus will become, trained by PX, or they're just like seeing me as someone who has been able to make a big impact, build a big practice, have a great life. And it's like, okay, could that be a helpful model, right, for you to follow? Well, when you look at it, because social media is always, you can kind of glean a lot of things, but you can't glean everything. The thing that, I don't know, it stresses me out because I don't want people to get the wrong story. I probably look like someone who works 80 to 100 hours a week and is burnt out, tapped out, and just ultra. In fact, I kind of have a love-loathe relationship with the word busy. I love the word I'm a productive AF son of a gun if there ever was one. And I never consider myself busy. But I also understand by other people's interpretation of the situation, that would be busy and hustle and everything else. But I guess where I'm going with this is, that actually is something that would probably top my list of State of the Union things to teach others. It's never been easier to scale your time. It's never been easier to scale your content. Now, team, so other humans helping you out, systems, and technology aren't new, but technology is so much better. And so not only can I leverage AI and technology to really scale my time and my productivity and my outputs, but I've actually trained my team, to do so. We are a team that is very invested into AI and different technologies. So when you see this whole PX Docs, Experience Miracles podcast kind of megaship just cranking, when you actually open the hood, you'd be like, jeez, they actually have more white space, and they do more with less time than you could ever imagine. I'm probably not saying this all exactly how I want to, but that would be actually the first thing I would kind of like preach from the mountaintops. It's like, it's never been easier to be productive. And those have always been my absolutes that I will crank towards my mission and vision. I love it. So I love getting after it, but I will never cross the line of being unhealthy with my personal health, my fitness, my energy, my nervous system's well-being, and then most importantly, my family. I've just been on that, the whole time.
Has that always been the case? Have you always had good boundaries with regards to that stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, obsessively, truthfully, yeah.
Let's suppose there's somebody out there that doesn't have as good a boundaries, and I don't all the time. I've been forced to find some boundaries this last 6 months. How do you, because you coach a lot of docs in this situation, how do you help them with that challenge?
Yeah, well, one, mentor, I just really kind of like force them to get around people that have balance, and when I say balance, I'm gonna sweet spot it. I'm gonna put these terms with it. Balance to me is a sweet spot. It's not too much or too little. Like, I think people can be woefully unhappy if they're working, finger quoted for me because I love it so much. But like, if they're working too little, well, then they're lacking purpose and meaning and fulfillment. And I wouldn't want that life either, right? Too much freedom can be, you just get in your head and you just get off track in that way. But you can also 100%. Obviously get way freaking off track by going, so I've always just strived for this sweet spot. And then what I did is, God, I'm gonna sound like such a nerd with this. It's how I do marketing and everything else. I just mathed it all out, buddy. I just turned it into a schedule, and I turned it into a system that is based upon math that says, I'm willing and able to produce this much of X, Y, and Z. And like, here's the minimum number I got to get to feel like I'm creating my impact and growth I want. And here's the maximum number that I know I wouldn't go across because that would then create sacrifice of family. And I know where those ranges are, and I just freaking operate obsessively within those ranges. And do not get me wrong. I bump up and, sometimes get your chubby little toes over one line or the other, right? And I tend to bump over the getting after it line. But I'm super quick to adjust if I, start to hit that line a little bit.
You have some really unique and very powerful belief systems that support you, and that I've seen from working with you. And one of them is you're very happy to invest in really good people around you.
Yeah.
And you and Christina, you don't need to be the delivery mechanism of everything. I really admire that about you. I want to share this story here because Tony asked me to do a project for him, might have been 3 years ago. I wanted some hand putting a training program together. And I wrote out the training. I said, is this what you want? He said, yeah. And I said, look, buddy, let me just write out the course for you. Because then I said, what do you want to pay for it there too? And you kind of gave me the numbers based on that too, of what you thought your conversions, all that stuff there too. And I said, look, buddy, let me just write the course for you. I'll give it to you. You've just film it yourself then. He went, no, I want you to do it. I went, well, you realize what you're going to pay me based on what we said before in our agreements? He's like, yes. Like, and at that moment, I went, this is very interesting in terms of a model that you have with regards to, and sometimes it's the cliche of, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, then you need a team around. Can you speak a little bit to that whole belief system of yours?
Yeah, because that whole cliche proverb or whatever, I love to take cliches and proverbs. I respect them because I always make this joke like you got to earn yourself to a cliche. When people are like, oh, that's so cliche, and then they dismiss it, I'm like, well, that is the dumbest thing you should ever dismiss. It earned itself to a freaking proverb, and they print it on T-shirts. Might want to go ahead and adopt it, So, but then there's me, so I'm like, well, shit. I bet we could squeeze a little more juice out of this lemon. So, what if you want to go far and fast together? So then you need, so that's an and equation, not an or. So I hate the word or, so I switch everything to and. That's a belief system. And then you have to figure out, okay, if you want that, if you're going to expand what you want out of that, you have to do things differently, right? So now you have to bring and into those equations too. So to go far and fast together as a team, you need a quantity, size of team. So most people never even kind of get that first thing figured out. They're just literally short-staffed. There's no other way to say it other than, what it is. And then two, even if they are like, oh, okay, I'll hire people, they just hire, turds, and they pay them low, they train them poorly, they take care of them poorly, they never lead. So we do the opposite of both of those. We've always been, most people would probably say we're overstaffed, which to me is the exact sweet spot to just scale and haul ass and create impact without sacrificing my family and my health, right? Because we can, many hands make light work. And then that's one. That's nice. That's good. That's table stakes. Quality. And this is a lesson I definitely have leaned into more over the last couple of years, Angus, which scared the shit out of me. We now have, starting in March here, we will be employing our 10 six-figure employees. Between all and 6 figures is a lot, like for one, right? And honestly, now that I know the value and the impact and all the things we're talking about that come from these just world-class people on our team and what they can do for our mission vision, Christina and I and my family, I honestly can't wait. And this is a Hormozy thing. I've heard it from him and now I've adopted it and love it. So I'll repeat it. I can't wait to hire a $250,000. Actually, we have a couple of those. I can't wait to hire a $500,000 or $1 million, team member, because if I'm getting this for this, what is $1 million person worth?
Yeah.
And I can't wait to find out. I hope to find out.
So what do you have to believe? So just to run the maths on that is that, so there's $1 million of salaries is that you're about to have minimum. Okay. And that's assuming everybody's just on 6 figures and there's more than two. What do you, because for lots of people that would be ulcer inducing, like that would have an ass puckering there too. What do you believe that they don't, that feels exciting?
Yeah. Well, first off, I make sure my diet is full of seed oils and gluten so it plugs up my gut so that way, okay, that's just a bad joke, but that's funny, so that I never even noticed that. Okay. Totally opposite of that. So what you have to believe is that pediatric chiropractic is unstoppable and it's the greatest product in the marketplace right now. I would not hire one six-figure employee if I was in a red ocean. Okay. I'm in the bluest, primed, freaking flashing blue light, let's go marketplace ever. So we are in natural, drug-free, nervous system focused family healthcare. Now, everybody listening, don't just take that as fun words. You're like, rah, rah. Let's brand that. So the pharmaceutical system failing, like absolutely, the pediatrician failing, like their product, their brand found out, exposed, RFK Jr., Maha, let's go, right? Big food failing. So these stock prices are crumbling. Well, guys, money's out there. So if people are unchoosing that direction, they have to, by default, somebody, something, some profession has to fill that gap. Families need a doctor. Ba-bam. Who is the doctor? And we are doctors. There's not that many, right, that have the level of primary care that we can have. So that's a blessing that our profession has fought for, and thank God they had it. And then, so who's the doctors who can take care of the whole family and take care of everything? They're also sick of being siloed and I got to go to this doctor for the ear, nose, and throat. And so they're going to us, nervous system focused doctors. So I could go on and on. But the reason I believe that, Angus, is because I work backwards from the potential growth of the marketplace. And I see opportunity that I promise you, I feel this way to be true. I feel like I am not doing even close to a good a job of keeping up. So if I'm feeling like I'm not keeping up, right, with the opportunity that's right there, well, then probably collectively as chiropractors, we could really get going, right? And stepping into this pediatric and family marketplace, drug-free, that's our brand, nervous system, which is now trending, right? Cold plunges, freaking infrared sauna, like you got to see this stuff happening. And it's really, I think it's been happening over 10 to 20 years, the more from pharmaceutical and chemical to natural, but that's like the bigger one. When you actually get more granular where people buy, the nervous system is freaking trending, which is the best thing I've ever seen in my almost 20 years of being a chiropractor.
Phenomenal. When, chiropractors have been having this conversation that kind of shifted from hard bones on soft nerves into, a more eloquent understanding of the role that we have in the central nervous system, sympathetic dominance, the role. And this has been happening over the last 15 years. And naturally then chiropractors started to have some of this conversation. And in the early days, I'm like, this is too confusing. If you share this message out with the people, like they don't need to know it. Like, that we talked about before, if you confuse, you lose. But I've gone 180 on that. I'm like, you get out there and jump in Google search, look for how many people are typing in sympathetic nervous system, polyvagal theory, things like that too. They are talking about this. I've done a lot of different, reading and stuff on breath work and cold. Like they're all talking the same thing about the
vagus nerve.
100%. So, and in concepts of, I'm a big fan of Hoopman's podcast. I don't know how most people understand a word he's saying. Like I'm sure he dumbs it down a little bit, the language he goes through. And this, like, our families are coming to us now, or there are families out there that like, man, I want that. So
they're putting it in their goals. They are literally ready because our content is chock full. Nobody's done it. Nobody's pushed this envelope like us. Like nobody's taken the could be confusing and simplified it. And that's my neuro brain, born in Iowa, raised on a farm, blessing that God gave me to be able to do both at the same time, to talk about, the vagus nerve and disafferentation and put it into a 30-second video and farmer it, and make it simple. But when I could literally on my laptop right now, I could pull up from PJ and our AI and our SEO team, like we crush old school SEO with new school AI, right? Claude and ChatGPT. I can tell you that, and I've been tracking it for over 3 years now, probably actually March will be 4 years. So every month I get a report from our team as to how much certain keywords like vagus nerve, dysautonomia, sympathetic dominance, nervous system dysregulation have gone up. Dude, they have been climbing rapidly month by month for years now, and it should be chiropractors crying happy tears that's actually happening, because that's our freaking terminology. That's our brand.
Yeah. So I think if you bring back to kind of start of the union, the first thing you talked about was scale. The second thing I think about is sophistication of the market. It's they are coming around in droves. And in the early days, I remember when I first started here, it was Deepak Chopra and chiropractors standing up on stage and saying, listen, he's talking our stuff there too, but it's everywhere now. And, people wanting to meditate and breath work and all that type of stuff there too. And so we need to meet them there because we have a tool. Like the one thing that's wonderful, well, one of the many things that's wonderful about an adjustment is, breath work is great, cold plunge is great, but the speed at which an adjustment causes these changes.
Do you want to know State of the Union? Let's talk about, so that's all what's working, right? So all this language, and I could literally show you the top trending. And actually what's so cool is Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, they switch their algorithm to actually function. People are like, oh no, AI, Google's going to go away. Well, this search concept still dominates, and it actually now dominates social media algorithms where, and hashtags have always done this, but it actually, then the Instagram guy put it out there, like it actually functions more like a search engine. Obviously YouTube does too, right? So as these SEO, which if you love digital marketing and you're splitting hairs with this, which I know your audience does, and like SEO, isn't that the newspaper now? No, they've actually embedded SEO and search function into social media platforms. So when you crush it, you're crushing the new stuff too. So anyways, here's what will destroy your brand: the spine, bones. Right. And so if you've done the one, it's a real son of a bee, because you're like, in the past we wanted to talk about the nervous system, but we felt like the spine was more of our like effective starting point, right? Okay, let's start with the spine, and then we're going to take it into the nervous system. Do you know how many people, because branding is visual and everything else, people just got stuck on the spine. Chiropractors got stuck on the spine. The patients got stuck on the spine. The marketplace kind of, pigeonholed us and stuck us on the spine. So actually, and it's one of the first training videos, the one with the most comments, Angus, when people go through the PX membership. And so you can tell it's the real, like, oh my God, this is the game changer video that I teach. It's called Ditch the Spine. It's literally the name of the video. And it does it. So then people are like, what do I talk about? The nervous system, the nervous system, the nervous system, the nervous system. So we've rebranded chiropractic, if you will, not by actually, more so, I'll say it this way, more so by subtraction, I think, almost, than addition, where we just don't say the things other chiropractors say, and we don't show the visuals other chiropractors have, which I think has always landed us in this physical back pain world and limited us, kept us out of the nervous system world. We just removed that obstruction, pun intended, subluxation, and away we go.
And I think too, some of my thoughts in around this were based on outdated media, because if you think about prior to any form of socialized, democratized media, trying to change chiropractic to nervous system, you're either going to have a lot of money, okay, because you've got to get in there and pay for it to happen there too. You got to be lucky, like, so maybe you're the next Deepak Chopra and that comes up, or it's going to take a tremendous amount of hard work. Whereas now, if I'm in a city area and my radius in around me, I've got 100,000 people, I can spend $20 a week and I can put out a piece of content and I can have it go just to them. And maybe I can even tighten that down a little bit, choose an age and maybe some interest in there as well. And I can then very simply, without getting fancy at all, those people that watch my videos, I make sure that they get the next ones as well. I can literally change their minds for $1,000 that year. I can get 52 messages in front of them. So once you watch one of my videos, I'm going to make sure you see the next one, and Google will tell us with this, what they call the zero moment of truth there too, that if I can get you to watch 7 hours of content, there's different numbers. Some people say 46 minutes. Anyway, if I can get you to watch enough of my stuff there too, that's how we can change it. So,
brother, I used to spend, in order to get the nervous system, I actually did this even 15 years ago. I was like, nope, I'm not going to be a back pain chiropractor. I'm not going to be about the spine. I'm not going to be about muscles. I'm going to be about kids. I'm going to be about pediatrics, pregnancy, Perfect Storm. So Perfect Storm is the brand we built kind of from nothing to be about autism and everything else. It's now actually a brand. And then the nervous system. So those are kind of like my 3 pieces, my pillars, and then the nervous system kind of like being the one that they're all tied to, right? So those are my differentiating, brand elements, right? That I would talk about. I would spend $10,000 in my formative years of the practice building my brand, not getting new patients. Hear me on this, everybody. Building my brand to be about those things, which is the same thing as saying, to not be about what every other chiropractor is, right? If you can really go hard on one or two things and get down that road, it gets you off of everybody else's path too. So you get two things at once. And I would spend $10,000 because I was doing radio and print, because I'm old enough to have started practice before social media was there. And it cost me back then 10 freaking thousand. Nobody believes me these days when I tell this story, Angus. None of my young docs are like, and now I don't even spend PwC, which has 8 doctors, and we're looking for, 50, 60, 70 new patients a month, because our organic is actually so damn good. We don't even spend $1,000. We do run some ads, right, for workshops and boosts and everything else. But also because our brand is so good, I don't have to spend the $3,000, $4,500 on ads, that maybe a lot of chiropractors do today to get new patients in the door. So just think about that. Like, I'm reaching literally millions, or trim it down. Let's keep it local, right? Like you're talking about with that. And you would do that. You'd want to be smart to build your brick and mortar versus what I'm doing with PX Docs. And so you can reach thousands to hundreds of thousands for hundreds of dollars per month. I can't even, I just said that out loud again. I, having lived the other life, the $10,000 life for frickin' radio and print, I can't even believe this is true. I literally can't believe this is true right now.
And the radio and print was almost impossible to track with how many people actually engaged with it and for how long.
Crapshoot. Total crapshoot.
True. So, and
I just had to convince myself it was working,
Yes. Yeah, well, it's based on good sound logic as well. So we've talked about scale, and then what I've referred to as the sophistication of the market as well. What else do you see is changing if chiropractors are to catch that tidal wave? What else fits in there?
So I'm going to come back to the word trending. So let's go big picture trending. That's like the number one thing. Okay, the nervous system is trending. Drug-free is trending. Being the antithesis of a pediatrician is trending, right? So being root cause, being compassionate, being a doctor who listens and talks about the nervous system. Like, that's our kind of macro content that's trending. Micro is very much being able to produce. So in PX Plus, which you help us continue to crush with, we are very ahead of the curve, and our timing with our topics is very intentional, and it's very strategic, and we can actually we're usually a month or two ahead of time, but we can also even have built in to kind of be what I call reactionary, like proactive, reactive, meaning like when RFK, started to gain steam, you better believe you should be posting about that, right? Because, and kind of riding those coattails into that conversation. So we would work those things into our conversation. But even that's the later example. So trending themes. So we build our social media content calendar. We do 2 different themes per week, and then we do it's all done for our PX Plus clients, which is the genius of their lives, because they don't have PJ and the AI team. I have an entire team. Like we kicked off, I have literally some of the top marketing geniuses stolen from other industries which have scaled way beyond chiropractic. I've stolen people from the supplement industry, which is $1 trillion industry and companies, right? And I've stolen people from others that they know natural health and they know how to scale content. And then they experience nervous system focused chiropractic for their family. So they were easy steals onto our team. So we have this really advanced selection of which topics we are talking about and posting about when. WHEN. So the timing of our content is very, very strategic. And what I see most chiropractors do is the opposite. They're pulling it out of their what. I'm due to make a post today, so I'll just choose ear infections, in July, over here. It's, like, what a terrible thing to talk about in July, And so there's 1,000 examples I could give of what that actually looks like. But trending, timed themes will be all the difference in the world of your content crushing or not. That's one of them for sure.
Yeah. So, and again, just for our listeners, if there's something that's already happening in the media that is creating swell, we'll keep on using this metaphor of waves and swell and momentum and stuff like that too. Don't try and create your own. Like, get on board of that and link, what you do to that. So again, if it is that Tony was saying beforehand, for those of us here in the Southern Hemisphere in the summer at the moment, that too, most kids don't have coughs and colds and ear infections and adenoids out happening in the summer. It's a winter thing that happens, and then invariably that might come up. And you can bet if someone starts talking about that stuff, jump on board with it. look for it, be flexible, being able to pivot really quickly and find what's trending. And I think, when we talk about it, that in terms of State of the Union stuff there too, is that flexibility, because shit is changing really quickly.
It does.
So in terms of what's working, how it's working as well. And so we need to be not too holding on to our ideas too firmly, because the chances are the way that you practice and maybe even the way that you communicate and do those things in 2025 may not be the way that we do it in 2026. So there needs to be flexibility there, yeah?
I think so. Think of it this way. I was taught to make my marketing calendars, select my monthly themes, do my workshops. They're going to be on this date, and this is what I'm going to talk about. And then when social media came to be, I just adopted that same strategy with social media content. In February, I'm talking about this. March, I'm talking about this. April's going to be this workshop, right? And I was using some of this. I was definitely using seasonality and trends that family, same thing. Winter, like right now, we are talking about RSV and croup and that because we're in winter up here, right? So I always had that. That's kind of like the one-on-one level of this. So now, though, we have built our entire social media content and our whole marketing platform with stability and flexibility. So we have 75% of our content is pre-planned, but 25% of it, especially when we go live and we go on stories and what's kind of behind the scenes, that 25% is RFK Jr., vagus nerve popping, and we're infiltrated too. That would be because people maybe listen and go, okay, well, I want to do this, but how do I do this? Well, one, use common sense. That's kind of your table stakes, right? With the family practice, there's certain topics, around parent-teacher conferences and when grades come out and exams are ADHD and anxiety, big topics because people are stressed about that stuff, right? And then you have the immune stuff and everything else. The other way you do this is every freaking one of you has this data. You're on the tables. Your patients are talking about it. You are literally engaged in conversation, hopefully, with your ideal avatar. Take freaking notes. Our back office of our practice is what I call the war room. It's our doc meeting where we have our meetings and do our notes. But this whole one wall is a whiteboard. And there's a column, there's like a little section on the whiteboard where all of us docs are trained. It says trending topics. What are the questions that moms are asking us in the practice this week? Well, that's top of mind. That's got to swell, and sometimes you can pin the tail on the donkey and go, well, that makes sense that this is happening in December. I'll tell you what, guys, a lot of this stuff is entirely random. Why is Miralax in the news? Why is, this thing in the news? You can't even figure it out, but it is happening. So you need to be about it. And so what we'll do is we'll track it, record it. And then the other one too that fits this. So you have your rooms, you're in practice, you're paying attention to what people are saying and say it back to them. That's the best content. And then infiltrate the groups. We have our CAs in all these autism support groups, local crunchy moms of Crystal Lake. We're in every group. We're watching those threads. And then via Slack and Asana and kind of our team communication channels, my CAs will be like, hey, Dr. Tony, I think you should do a video about motor tics. There's this whole thread going off in here about motor tics. Guess what? We do the video, said CA posted in the group. Seems like it was, I love this because I'm very much connected to my source and to God, and he is directing all this traffic. But I kind of get a chuckle when people are like, it's like God wanted me to see this video tonight. And it's like, yes. And also SEO analytics, and you know what I mean? And then we did a bunch of other things too, I love that phrase because it's like, agreed. And there's a little bit of sleuthing behind that too.
I love it. I reckon going forwards, the chiropractors that are going to find it easiest in practice are those ones that are going to get really good at individual branding, i.e. around them. They're going to commit to being the face of their brand. And you see this in, when we think about Virgin, we think about Richard Branson, we know he's not flying the planes. We know he's got nothing to do with it. When you're buying a Tesla, you've probably got a thing for Elon Musk. We see years ago, big brand like Amazon, we wouldn't have known who their CEO was, their founder. So this happens because we want to humanize brands. And even more so now, we want to humanize this. Like, I want to know who you are. And there's this opportunity for you to be out there as well and to step into that too. I love, it was Dean Jackson who I first heard coined the term to commit to being 5 mile famous. It works so well for us as chiropractors that in that little 5 mile radius around there, I in the little town that I am in here, I hang out with another chiropractor. We often walk along the beach and his practice is here. And Scott cannot go more than 100 meters before he's, hey, Bill, hey, Sue,
Yep.
hey, this. We hopped in the order this morning there. It was 6:30 in the morning there. There was one other woman. Scott went out there and she said to me, is that Dr. Scott? I'm like, he's everywhere. And that's where we want to be. And again, that is possible now. Can you talk to what your thoughts are on that? Because you've been a leader in this idea of just personal branding.
Yeah, and it's wild. And help me, I'll just share my thoughts authentically and raw, because I'm in this crazy new season where I'm taking this 5 mile famous rule, which is as true gets, brother man, with personal branding, especially doctors. Okay, there's just a special affinity for especially pediatric doctors, right? Of that way, and it really, really, really works for us. Let's just call a spade, right? Like people just get this connection to their family chiropractor that is just a freaking bond. It's actually why we have this weird dichotomy of our brand on the outside. People who have never been to a chiropractor don't necessarily have a great brand association with us, but people who have are like, I'm never leaving, right? It's just this weird dichotomy that we exist with. So anyway, so that works for us. So yes, I'll say it through joke and reality, and then I'll kind of try and match it with strategy. So real life stories, my kids have for well over a decade now, never wanted to go to any community event inside the community here, their school, because I am the slowest moving parent they have. Because I'm chatty, but it's all patience. Their school, we take care of like 50% of their school. We go to anything downtown Crystal Lake, like the farmer's market. If I just wanted to grab one thing, that's an hour and 40 minutes to get out of there, right? Like we've been 5 mile famous for a while. So my kids, especially my teenagers, are like, dang it, Dad, like stop it. So that's awesome. That's the real life example of what you're talking about. Because and please help me with this, Angus, because I'm rounding third base to really owning this through prayer, working with my team, working with everybody on this. But it was a real, I think you know this already. We've chatted about this. I actually held off on launching the Experience Miracles podcast, which his full name is the Experience Miracles Podcast with Dr. Tony Ebel. So it has my name in it. I held off for 18 months, really working with mentors like Josh and strategists and everything else, because my hope, stupidly placed, was, hey, can we do this without my name on it? Could we take pediatric chiropractic to the masses and I remain unrecognizable? Like, could that actually happen? And we just studied it, and we went through it, and we built the whole strategy, and I just had to pray to God. I literally prayed and prayed and prayed and I prayed, and I said, well, and I'm telling him, I'm like, I want this outcome. I want millions, literally hundreds of millions of kids to put pediatric chiropractic first. Not just like, I don't want just to have it. I'm big goals. I want it to literally replace the pediatrician with us, right? So then when you build that strategy out, and if you say, okay, I'm really committed to that vision and mission, me personally are committed to that. And this rule of personal branding really works in today's world like never before. The Elon Musk and the Bezos examples you kicked this off with, I knew it would work. And I have literally now taken vacations over the last couple of months, brother. It just happened 2 days ago. I've been in airports in Cancun. I've been in airports in the Bahamas. I've been in airports in Miami and been recognized. So however many miles, that is away now, because, and hopefully I'm doing a decent job of getting people to understand the value of this. Like, holy shit, it works. And now my goal is to say, okay, there's an opportunity right now for a leader, a voice, to represent voices, thousands, hopefully 10,000s of us get behind this, that can cut through the noise like a Robert Kennedy Jr. has, or like a Food Babe has. If we associate these movements, Josh Axe, people only know about collagen and protein because of Josh Axe. His personal brand brought the product to become a product, and it's now a product category, right? And so like you have these examples that have proven, and I need to shut up now about this, but I am so committed to getting nervous system focused pediatric and family chiropractic out there. I am taking the rules of personal branding and scaling it massively to local. I'll never back off. I'll continue to do it here locally. I still represent PwC. People, know me. They associate the practice with that. I'm teaching, we're branding our doctors, right? They're becoming known in the community. They can't go to the farmer's market either. It's awesome, and now we're going to do it globally, I guess, is the game plan. So first of all, awesome. Congratulations. And thank you. Sorry, real quick. It made me, I didn't say this, scared the shit out of me.
I totally do.
I was resistant. And so those of you that are thinking, I got a brand new practice, it's brick and mortar. You think I'm some magical unicorn of no fear. Dude, I was freaking, my HRV tanked. I had to pray on this. I had to talk to my pastor. I had to get my team to convince me. I had to talk to Angus. It's real life stuff.
Yeah. I think, I often think I have a level of cautiousness around anyone who wants to be a leader. Like it's the reluctant, you know what I mean? Like it's like,
I do.
If there's a humbleness in about it, it's probably a really good spot to be coming from too. So one of the biggest challenges I hear from chiropractors all the time in around this kind of personal branding stuff is the idea that, look, I have multiple practitioners that work for me and I don't want everybody just requesting to come in and see me.
Yeah.
And I want to remind them, like I kind of said to you beforehand too, that, when we love a brand like Elon Musk, we know that he hasn't, he's not going to sell us the car. When we like Virgin, we know that, Branson's not going to be flying the plane there too. That what we actually get to do when we build a personal brand is we get to really edify our staff. And I think that, man, if Tony's so damn good, I know that he's only going to employ amazing people. And at the same time, we should be building the brand of them as well. The one constant about your practice, you'll have associates that come and go, okay? And if you're doing a great job, they'll stay for a long time. But you're there, and they will really, when they call the office, they're not going to expect to see you. And as you build those other people up there, so don't worry about that. In fact, it's even more reason if you have multiple docs working for you that you should, be building your personal brand. Has that been your experience too?
I love it, dude. It is. When you have a brand that is built on an expectation of excellence, that filters down to everyone on your team. Consumers are smart. Moms are smart. They know, man, if this doc is just creating all this content and has all this compassion, it has all this expertise, they have a standard of excellence that they automatically, which is true, they automatically know that everybody they're going to interact with at that practice is going to be on that level. And that's my favorite. I'm so glad you brought that up. That's my favorite thing to teach, because you can look at this through the wrong lens and go, well, won't I then be, kind of like trapped to my practice or pigeonholed to my practice? No, you'll be able to expand and scale your practice, because you can actually, like, these other amazing chiropractors can tap into your personal brand, and collectively this thing just builds. I definitely had those thoughts in kind of this misperceived way before in the past too. Like, oh no, is this going to like work for a season and then / kind of trap me into it? And the opposite is absolutely true. Like it just builds the practice. And now there's brands. The practice has a brand. I have a brand. The doctors have the brand, but really it's one brand, and it's freaking amazing. It's unstoppable.
Yeah. Let's move to next. So far we've talked about scale is going to be big in 2025, sophistication, trend, talked about individual branding. What else are you seeing as coming towards us? Videos. I think if you and me have been on this for years, we would have answered this last year, we'd go back many years and say videos. And so then I love that. That's the big picture. Just like before, I was kind of like big picture with it, then granular. Now people ask all the time, well, what kind of videos? One, consistently, you just crank. You got, because how many times can I do a subluxation video? We'll do one every single week, because people need to hear it 17 times, 77 times before they really figure it out. And the next group of people are going to be hearing it for the first time. So you got to get them to 1, to get them to 2, to get them to 77. So anyways, videos, we just crank videos. We crank short form and we crank long form. So the short form has definitely, we're a heavy education. Actually, let me go in the right order. We are a heavy brand built on emotion. We build on story, our story, patient stories, testimonials. That is the tip of our spear. Then we go to science and education. So we take the sophisticated content and we've simplified it. And then we're obviously a brand built upon taking action. Like, okay, there's a next step here. And so the way I see videos is videos, and our patients report this. We track our acquisition, our lead acquisition and our new patient acquisition. And so we actually ask them. Our CAs are trained to ask them, not just how did you hear it? Actually, this is a great granular training tactic. Stop just asking on your paperwork. So we change our paperwork to be multiple choice instead of fill in the blank that says, how did you hear about our practice? And then I'd retrain my CAs to say, please tell me all the different ways you've heard about our practice. Now you're like, what the hell does this have to do with anything? Yes.
Marketing done today is they have multiple stops. No mom, because why would they? If they hear about you, I love people are like, oh, I'm word of mouth only. No, you're not. No, dang it, you're not. Like they hear about it from one person, and then they go online, they check your reviews, they check your website, and they can do this from their phone in 30 seconds, 30 minutes if they have an Android, because it takes longer because it's a piece of crap. So,
Yes.
but they can check you all out. So I need to know how many of those tally marks to make sure. And so what's working is videos. And when we ask, hey, what videos have you watched? They answer with both, meaning short form. So they love our reels. We have a very entertaining brand. We show behind the scenes. We show our personality. We're very sarcastic. We're pretty punchy. We have an entire so we produce two videos a week, so 8 a month, that are titled under the category "Punch the Pediatrician in the Nuts." Like literally on our planet. That is, I don't know why. It's the internal title for like a little punchy, sort of one. And people, that is our best performing content, by the way. People freaking love satire and sarcasm and punchiness, right? And so we produce short form videos. The goal of the short form videos is Gary Vee, I love it. It's the appetizer to the entree.
Yes.
Long form videos. I'd be remiss to not finish this answer by saying, if you're not making 3 minute to 8 minute, sometimes I'll go even long. If I'm getting onto a tougher topic like the vagus nerve, we have people stay engaged with our long form videos for 13, 15, 18 minutes. So kind of like TED Talk, YouTube style content. I produce a ton of that here in the studio all the time. And I will tell you this, don't miss this if you're taking notes. Those are the videos that actually get new patients. Mm-hmm. The short form, a little bit of the kind of lighthearted, light information, those are moving them closer to us, but there's just not enough meat on the bone for them to buy yet. So the metrics around your videos will really screw with you, and you should be tracking your metrics. Short form videos will get a lot more of the top end kind of vanity metrics, right? Like look at how many they'll go. We have videos go viral all the time. But our actual new patients tell us, I watched your video on ear infections and they mean the long one, right? Like the YouTube one. And those are the ones that when I'm doing consults, and my CAs are trained to get this info, but I'll actually ask on consults, Angus. I'll be like, tell me all the ways you heard about. I actually want to know, like, kind of how educated are they not at that point. So long form videos, man, and long form articles. And I love that. You can tell by my long answers to every question. That's my favorite kind of content. Dude, that's gold for us, man. Gold. And nobody does them. Chiropractors don't do them. God almighty.
Because they're telling the story of themselves, and they hear it from other places, is that attention spans are decreasing. I'm like,
bullshit.
Are you serious? Like, Rogan's podcasts are 3 hours long. Huberman's are 90 minutes long. And plus, they're 2. And I'm talking to patients each and every week that just spent the weekend binge watching New Girl and watched episode or seasons 1 to 8. Like, it's not that. It does mean this. Okay, your content has to be good. So just because it's 30 minutes, it's not the time length, but you need to do 30 minutes of quality stuff, nice camera, good microphone, and really understanding how to deliver and take somebody through a journey. They're delivered with passion. In fact, let me take that back. You don't need a fancy camera and microphone, although
no, you don't.
But the content needs to be delivered in a way that's engaging. Camera robs you of energy there too. You need to be enthusiastic, all that type of stuff there. But it's got to. I'm bullish back on long form content again.
I am too.
So,
it's moving the needle for us, both on the practice platform. We're getting more new patients from our long form videos, brick and mortar practice, and then we're getting more leads to the directory, and which is a new patient that I send to a trained PX doc on the directory. We actually, and that's my goal. Back to kind of the big vision I shared before. We'll pull it off. We're going to do it within 3 to 5 years. The podcast and the PX docs platform will be the #1 new patient source for hundreds, if not thousands, of PX offices. Like we're generating between 1,000 to 1,500 new patients per month right now, and we've just got started.
It's wild, dude. It's wild.
Yeah.
Hey, man, as we begin to wind this up a little there too, I'm interested in this. We've talked about what we think is coming as well. What do you think it's time to let go of? Like, as this chiropractor's going into 2025, what's it time to let go of? What's the thing of the past for us?
I would have answered this one. Same with videos. I would have said, I saw the writing on the wall for this 5 years ago too. Like you're dead, and I want to say this, punchy enough to drive the point home, but not to be rude, because I know, you get advice from people that are trusted and it worked for them. So it's kind of that adopt conversation before, but it's a different era. You're dead in the water if you're doing screenings and corporate talks. And now it's not that everything has to be digital. There's a little bit of we're having a huge comeback with workshops. I'm not answering this one with workshops. Our workshops are making a comeback, which thank God. I love that. I think those are the best new patients ever. But I have a lot of clients that come into PX and they were told to, and they did, therefore, they didn't do any digital marketing. They didn't do any, they did all old school screenings, fishbowl, business card, lunch and learns. Not only did COVID kill off a ton of them because you couldn't do any of that, but they haven't come back. And there's one final trump card why I would put this in that to answer this one. Let's say they do work. It might be the worst outcome for you, because now you're 3 to 5 years into practice. You're having your third kid. You're already adjusting 3 to 4 to 500 people a week. You now have a team of 3 to 4 to 5 humans who are going to need your energy. And who's got the time and the energy to still require? And by the way, screening patients tend to not stick. Lunch and so you have to keep. So you have to just keep doing them. The worst part about them is how energy expending they are. And then even if you do get them to work, it's the worst addiction you could ever have. I mean, dude, buddy, we have practitioners coming into PX who are, successful by metrics, 300, 400, 500 a week. They're 26 years old. They're 28 years old, and they're burnt out, dude. They're much more unhealthy than me at 43. They look less healthy than me at 43. Because they built their practice on these old school, outdated marketing strategies that I just personally think, and I know people will argue with me vehemently about this, but I could see having them stick around if the phone hadn't been invented, in the absence of something better. But goodness gracious, does something much better exist? And so the new screenings, I've made this joke for a long time. I go screening every single day. I put this screen in front of my face and I record content and I write, posts. And then that screening goes out and reaches a lot more people in a lot better way than I could at frickin' Costco.
Yeah. I think kind of what we've talked a lot about here is the importance of innovation. And just because something worked, and I'm part of this too. I get so attached to things that worked in the past and my ideas. And so there's a cognitive bias there that is sometimes difficult for me to let go of. And this is one thing that certainly this first quarter for me, I'm just reviewing everything, including this podcast, which takes a considerable amount of my time. I'm like, why am I doing it? What are the metrics? And it's moving the needle, all those type of things there too. But sometimes we continue to do things for old reasons there as well. So, buddy, it's I'm hoping this is a multi-listen for peeps today, because what Tony has laid out for you is a roadmap that will help you have more impact, more income, and then greater fulfillment, as he calls it, or enjoyment, as I do as well, to starve off the burnout, the overwhelm, the frustration that happens, and to, just bring a whole bunch more joy into your practice. And this is not Tony is on the ground doing this stuff himself in person, 8 practitioners in there too, as well as coaching, chiropractors from around the world. So, brother, thank you so much for sharing so generously today. It's always a pleasure for me personally, and I'm grateful on behalf of my audience that you've shared today. I'm so excited for, if you get what Tony said before, just to touch base on it, there are 1,000 families a month now being driven to chiropractic because of the work that he's doing outside of that. And it's only just started. So if Tone's ever in your part of the world and you can see him personally, I'll have the links to the podcast that he's creating, the patient forward-facing one that you want to share with your practice members and stuff like that too. But brother, thank you for everything. I'm very excited to see what comes next.
Thank you for having me, man. This is my favorite podcast. I mean, it's my favorite podcast to get on. I've caught every one of your episodes. They're always implementable, actionable. And so the chance to teach people, this is the stuff that's working now to save kids' lives. Because that's what this is. Your marketing is literally the first step in saving a child's life and transforming an entire family. So fall in love with it, get really damn good at it, and you'll never want to stop doing it.
Love it, dude. Look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Hey, Dr. Tony here, and I wanted to say thank you for listening to the Family Practice Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to the show so you don't miss a thing. Also, if you're looking for more content from us, you can absolutely subscribe to our newsletter, watch exclusive episodes on YouTube, and dive deep into the articles and blogs on our website. All of this is linked in today's show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode.